What's up guys, Asian here with, you can basically call this a reaction video, probably the first and only one you're probably going to see on this channel, and we're going to be taking a look at the Greymoor chapter sneak peek here. This is Nefas' video, but there are a bunch of other content creators that have uh, got a chance to play through what is essentially the alpha version of Greymoor. So this is just going to be a reaction video throughout all of Nefas's, in this case, 18 minutes and 3 seconds of content here. So just do bear in mind that this is basically an alpha version of Greymoor. It's not in the PTS yet, and the PTS is essentially the beta version of Greymoor. So things that you see in this video are probably not set in stone just yet. Things are still subject to change. So let's go ahead and get started. I will be starting and stopping the video here and there just to kind of give some commentary and things like that. So Nefas, please don't copyright strike me. Thank you. Internet's still being a little bit slow today at house. Give it a few seconds and it should load up and start properly. I don't know why the video is playing even though we're getting this groupie swirl thing.
Alright,
there we go.
I beat Moloch Ball and saved the world. I saved Vivek
Okay,
and
so an
saved
introductory
the world.
section.
I saved Somerset and saved the world. I became Emperor and got zerged down.
Alright,
I became
Nefas, go on.
Godslayer and
Keep
saved the
on
world. A lot of
stroking that E-peen. Go ahead and do that, Nefas.
The world on that one. I saved the Thieves Guild, Mages Guild, Fighters Guild, and Sijic Order and saved the world. And I look so fabulous with my outfits. I saved.
I mean, everybody knows Fashion Scrolls is the true endgame, so.
Sigh, isn't there anything else left for me to do? Well, I guess that's it.
I don't know, this is pretty.
Time to go home and.
It's pretty good machinima considering it's Nefas, who's not a role player. Oh no, black screen. I know where this is going. Knowing that it's Greymoor. I think I know where this is going. This is definitely going to be wagon scene. Yeah, wagon scene. Called it. Luckily, pretty good introduction. Pretty decent machinima, ESO machinima, considering it is Nefas and not like a big name RPer.
It's time to Nefas and show, and I am super excited to be sharing with all of you watching this video one of the first exclusive looks at the much anticipated Greymoor chapter hitting the Elder Scrolls Online this May for PC and June for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
Not gonna lie, the visuals here are pretty good.
Same fashion as the
pretty good quality here, visuals.
With the Heraldstorm DLC involving Lyra's Titanborn, the Icereach Coven, and the Guardians of the Unhallowed Grave. The Greymoor chapter will be taking us back to Skyrim, specifically Western Skyrim, while giving us a lot of hours of content and gameplay. More on that later. First, I'd like to thank the amazing team at ZeniMax Online Studios for giving me the privilege of letting me into the Greymoor hands-on sneak peek. They've been absolutely wonderful and helpful, and playing with other content creators who were also invited was fantastic as well. In this video, I'll be showing you guys a ton of footage.
I think that's probably Dragonbridge. So if you guys remember from those guys who've played Skyrim, Dragonbridge is a small community on Western Skyrim that is sort of between Markarth and Solitude. So they've been around for quite a while. So it looks like we will be able to get to Dragonbridge here in the Greymoor chapter zone that's being introduced here. The internet's being a pain in the butt right now, so I think every time I start and stop, it's gonna have to offer the video. So bear with me here. Should only take a few seconds here. There's a lot of people using the internet at my father-in-law's house, so that's probably why we're getting some buffering issues here. It should only take a few seconds.
Would give AO up for. Keep in mind, and let me emphasize this, that the version of Greymoor I played and what we're showing you guys was still a work in progress, meaning not everything has been polished up or finished.
Okay, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is basically just an alpha version of the game, so things are still subject to change, obviously.
And I was
probably not the art and assets, but probably like sets and things like that. So here we see Solitude. You guys all recognize that that arch there, which is characteristic of the Solitude hold, which is say the city. The Solitude hold itself is a much larger area, of course. Now, for those of you guys who are not as familiar with Elder Scrolls lore, Skyrim takes place in the 4th era, I believe, year 201. Elder Scrolls Online takes place during the Interregnum, which is basically more or less a a blank period, so to speak, within the Elder Scrolls lore. Basically, a bunch of stuff happened in the interregnum, and history was basically lost during that time period. So this would be, so ESO is set during that time period, which is the Second Era. I want to say it's the 4th century, so around 400 or so of the Second Era. So this Solitude that you see right now is not the same same Solitude that you have seen and played in Skyrim, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, but it is about 1,000 years earlier, if I'm remembering my dates correctly. 200 from the 4th era, about 350 for the 3rd era, and then the 2nd era was a couple of centuries as well. So this is about 1,000 years prior to the Solitude that we see in Elder Scrolls V. So just bear that in mind if you guys eventually, if you guys get the chapter and go through the whole city, things are gonna be different compared to what you see in the Elder Scrolls V version of Solitude, just because there's 1,000 years difference here. Probably a couple of things are probably going to stay the same. Probably the fortifications, the walls, the palace itself probably still going to be there. Obviously, we still have the docks. The actual landscape itself probably isn't going to be changing all that much, but don't expect it to be a carbon copy of what you saw in Elder Scrolls V in Greymoor, just because again, 1,000 years has passed between Regnum and when
Including
Skyrim came
Orsinium,
out.
Morrowind, and Somerset. And if you know me, I really, really love Orsinium, especially, and I still think it's the best DLC ever. So this is not mere exaggeration. I've included timestamps in the video description for you guys, but basically, this video will cover the new antiquity system, the revamped vampire skill line, the new zones we can explore, the new 12-man trial, or raid kinds ages, and you know I love me some trials, along with a bunch of other stuff such as item sets, juicy screenshots, Hera storms, and yes, Black Reach. If you like Skyrim,
A lot of the stuff we
originating in
already
Elder
knew
Scrolls
was
V,
coming, so this is not really
this is
new
it.
stuff
This is
that
the
we're learning
chapter.
about.
Greymoor is
This is
gonna
just
blow
showing us
your
now
mind.
what's in that
Now,
stuff
the
now.
very first thing, and I couldn't resist, was check out Solitude. And I think a
You
lot
see
of
here,
us have
Solitude's
a
emblem still
special
remains the same,
affinity
still the
for this
wolf.
city from playing
Um,
the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
So the emblem seems to be the same. So this does seem to be Solitude. Probably either I'm not sure if the emblem changed after Queen Potema's incident. If you guys played through Skyrim, there was a quest involving the Wolf Queen Potema. That happened in the second era, I believe. I think in 200, the 200, yeah, around the 200s or so. So this should be after Wolf Queen Potema. So it makes sense that we still have the wolf emblem here as the Solitude city emblem here. But you can already see right off the bat, just entering from the front gate, it's a very different layout compared to what you saw in Skyrim, again, because this is set far in the past compared to when Elder Scrolls V takes place. A little bit more buffering, and then Nefas is probably going to take us on a quick stroll through Solitude to see how the
The
art
city
assets
feels
have improved.
alive, looks amazing, is very immersive, and well done. And yes, for those of you wondering, there are 6 guild traders in Solitude. Familiar sights and locations such as the windmill, the Blue Palace, and
So yeah,
location of what
this
we
is this is
know
the
as
this
the
is the path
greatest
from the
city
castle
plus
to the
nothing
Blue
more
Palace. So
in
you can
the
see
city
that
are
a little bit of difference
available
here
for
and there,
players
but
to
for the most
explore.
part, the big
Just like the
big
rest of Western Skyrim,
landmarks
Solitude is
are still
gorgeous,
there.
and if Solitude was a woman, I'd ask her out for a date for sure. Next, I explored the cold landscape of Skyrim as I ran into various surprises, including towns full of life and towns full of death, world bosses, vampires, very strange and large ritual
Here's
sites burned and etched into the earth,
Blackreach. We
and of
saw
course,
the
everyone,
Dragon Bridge
the
again.
notorious underground biome of Blackreach. And let me tell you guys
It
something,
looks like we're just going to go
both
straight into
Western Skyrim
Blackreach
and its
rather than
northern
having to go
counterpart
through a Dwarven
Blackreach
Ruin
are just
first and
massive.
then
I'm not
getting
talking
to
big,
uh,
as in Big
Blackreach.
Mac big, I'm talking like super size me big. The size and scale of both zones were so big, I
Which makes
actually
sense.
felt
Even in Skyrim,
really
there
overwhelmed
were
trying to
elevators that
explore
brought you
all of that.
directly
It
into
initially almost
Blackreach.
felt like I was about to start a new MMO. The environments just look visually stunning, and honestly, I keep saying this, but the developers outdid themselves, as I keep mentioning in this department. There are of course quests and a lot of lore you can explore, considering that this Western Skyrim is certainly not the same one as the one
Alright,
we've experienced in
Karthwatch.
Baldur's Gate 3
That was
so
also
far.
in
Of course,
ES5.
there are public dungeons, delves as well, and we also see A very
This looks like
familiar
the
location, that's right.
Ghost Sea, I think
The
it's called. The
labyrinthine
north,
that
the sea in
featured
the
in
north where it's
Skyrim, where you had to
fairly
obtain the
frozen.
Staff of Magnus to rescue the College of Winterhold. There are new types of overland monsters and enemies and new environments, and
I
of
heard
course
something about Winterhold. Let's go back to see if he mentioned something about Winterhold while I was talking.
same one as the one we've experienced 1,000 years later. Of course, there are public dungeons, delves as well, and we also see a very familiar location. That's right, the labyrinthian that featured in Skyrim, where you had to obtain the Staff of Magnus
Oh, he was
to
talking
rescue
about
the College of Winterhold. There are
a
new
labyrinthian,
types of
not
overland
College of
monsters
Winterhold.
and enemies and new environments, and of course, there are familiar ones from previous Elder Scrolls games, such as Acharis. I can't, of course, forget to mention the cataclysmic open world events known as Hero Storms, the namesake of the Quarter 1 DLC. What are Hero Storms? Well, let's just say turns the citizens of Tamriel caught in them into blood fiends and draws. It not only looks
Ooh, that's
beautifully gothic
that is
as you play
actually
through
like a
the
really
game,
good visual right there.
it
It's
took
probably
a
gonna
lot of
suck
players
on
who
lower
certainly
end
appreciate the difficulty
uh,
of tackling
systems,
on
but
these Hero Storms, especially
that'll look really good
with a
on
lot
higher
of
end
friends.
systems.
This one in the video in particular was found in Blackreach, and yeah, I tried soloing it. Did not work out very well, but it just looks so amazing, and the enemies you encounter from this are pretty dangerous. And the sound team did a really good job too. Here's what it sounds like. But yeah, now that I've shown you guys the environments, it's time to talk about the new antiquity system coming out, and I think a lot of people are going to enjoy this. And with the new antiquity system, players will get two new
Uh,
skill lines, scrying and excavation. And
what
I've
is
put
this?
the passives up on the video, so you guys can just pause at your leisure and review the passives. But
So yeah, this is a new system that they're introducing, and I have no idea what. I mean, part of it is he probably skipped over the tutorial part of what he's doing here. But yeah, there's the antiquity system, which is a new skill line. It seems like. So I'm assuming we need to use skill points in order to. Oh, oh, skill points. Skill points are so hard. Okay, but yeah, it does look like we do need skill points in order to kind of get everything here. You can kind of see over here it says Augur 2 out of 2, so I'm assuming some of these passives are, multiple stages. It's not just like one and done kind of thing, like a lot of like the Thieves Guild line or not Thieves Guild, Thieves Guild, Dark Brotherhood lines. A lot of them were just sort of like one skill point and you're done. It does seem like some of these are going to be multiples. Um, well, yeah, a lot of these seem to be looking at how to play this sort of like mini game. This sort of looks like a Bejeweled almost. I'm not sure. Maybe he'll explain later on in the video. Um, yeah, it looks like there's something like about bonus loot. Indicates more precisely how near the antiquity is to the selected location. So moves full layer of dirt and rock. So yeah, a lot of these seem to be more about like boosting your ability to perform in this sort of mini game thing. So nothing that really seems to be like overworld kind of thing. All of these seem to be very hyper focused into this mini game that he's playing here. Let's go through the whole, 10 seconds of buffering and go on to see exactly if he explains how this minigame exactly works. It kind of looks like a Bejeweled. Maybe it's sort of like a match the things up or something. I don't know. Maybe he'll explain it a little bit. We do see question marks up top, which usually are the signs for they don't have the assets ready just yet. So we don't have the art assets, so we don't know exactly what those question marks up top are actually
basically,
supposed to
how
represent.
antiquities work is that you're able to scry to look.
Okay, so we have a scrying skill line as well. So we're getting two skill lines. We're getting the antiquities and scrying skill lines. And much like antiquities, just kind of taking at these real fast, I see a line 2 out of 2, co-op 2 out of 2. Again, this doesn't seem like it's a one and done kind of thing. Unite, unite 2 out of 2. So let's see here. Turns to complete augury, 2 additional special charges for use in augury. So yeah, all these passives seem to be very hyper focused in on this mini game. I'm assuming. I'm assuming that scrying and the antiquity system are kind of go hand in hand. Maybe like there's two separate mini games you got to play in order to get things. We'll let Nefas see if he explains things, how this all works. But my skill point pool feels very very sad right now. Hopefully we get a lot of skill points in this with this chapter because I'm gonna need it if I want all these passives. Assuming that I need to get these passives in order to get these things. Maybe you can just buy them. I guess I probably won't
Locate
bother.
these relics or antiquities that tie into the lore of the game, and with scrying it's basically a pretty straightforward board game where the difficulty of each scrying board will be determined by the quality of the item you're looking for, much like the crafting system in ESO. So green scry boards will be easiest to solve, then the blue will be slightly more difficult with purple after, and then gold quality will be the hardest. The goal of these board games is to find the most efficient ways to uncover all the glowing globes with the least amount of moves, as doing more moves is going to deplete the gem. You guys will notice at the bottom of the board. If your gem
Uh,
runs out and you've only uncovered one or two things on the board, that's okay, but that just means you have to explore more areas of the map you're trying to find the antiquity in, as discovering more glowing globes on the board means less areas of the map you have to explore. So here in this video on the Glenumbra map, I managed to beat the green scribeboard pretty easily, which means I only have one area to explore for the antiquity, but I couldn't beat the blue scrying board because I'm a noob, which meant I had to explore more areas.
okay, so that's because it seems like it is just sort of a mini game essentially. Um, it doesn't seem that hard. It looks like it's just take any matching symbol seems to just sort of make this blob, and I'm assuming the passives that you get from augury and antiquities will probably either help you change the board or maybe make things a little bit easier for the minigame. So I don't know. It's just it depends on these antiquities. They are basically one piece set bonuses essentially that give unique benefits. You can only wear one at a time. If they're tradable, then I don't really see a point necessarily in doing these. But if they're not tradable and they're good, then obviously I'm gonna need to time to these basically finding these antiquities. It does seem like they come in different rarities, so I'm assuming this is assumption of mine that you can probably find like maps or something like that. I mean, just looking at the what he has right now on the screen, it looks like an antique map of Glenumbra, for example. I'm assuming you're getting something like a treasure map or something, like current existing treasure maps, and it specifies a zone or wherever, or maybe multiple zones, and you just basically it looks like you just need to fill up all of those stars basically to find the antique maps. So I'm guessing that maybe it's like multiple different rarities for the same antiquity. So maybe it's just you have the same antiquity, antiquity A, for example, and you just have green through gold, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to kind of see on the PTS how it all plays out. And of course, if the antiquities aren't worth going for and they are, you know, not tradable, or it basically, there's a lot of things that depends on how strong these antiquities are before I decide whether or not I want to actually spend any time farming for them. So I think we're going to get more on that a bit as well. So we already see the trial up here.
After you
Probably the
successfully
zone.
scry, you'll now need to take advantage of your excavation skills. Basically, this is like Jackie Chan Adventures meets Tamriel, where you get to venture forth as a sort of magic archaeologist and discover precious antiquities with mainly 4 tools like the scrying board, shovel, spade, and brush. Of course, as indicated by the gray-brown bar above in this video, just like scrying, you now have a limited amount of moves to find these chests in the dirt. And of course, if you have more moves left by the time you find an antiquity, you can actually keep digging to find other bonus items. After you find your antiquity, you can do what I did and put it in your house, although probably in a more classy way. Alright, Nefas, what about the revamped vampire skill line? Well, sorry.
Before we go into the revamped vampire skill line, this does seem to be pretty interesting. So it does seem like you're getting a lot of furnishings, but there are rare items that we know of, like armor pieces that we know of that are coming with antiquity as well. So it seems like there's a little bit of for everybody here. The puzzle games do seem pretty interesting. As somebody who likes to optimize a lot of things and tries to find the best route for a lot of these puzzle games, it'll be pretty fun to see how optimized you have to be in order to be successful. And imagine something like the purple or the gold rarity augury thing. It's going to be quite difficult. So we'll just have to see just how difficult it is. It's going to be interesting to see how difficult it's going to be, and you know if the average player is able to do them or not.
Sorry to be a pain in the neck for not showing the new vampire skill line yet, but Just like the
Oh, that
excavation
looks
and
that's
strike
probably
skill
the
lines, I will
ultimate.
also put the details of the vampire skill lines up on the video.
Okay, so yes, we are getting an update to the vampire skill line. That was something that we pretty much knew right when Greymoor was announced, that they were going to do something with vampires. So this looks like just all of the different vampire skills in the game. Now, some of them seem a little bit different. First of all, we have 6, so I'm assuming this is ultimate, and then 5 actives, so very similar to Werewolf line. Currently, I believe it is, I want to say it's just a bunch of passives, 2 actives, and an ultimate, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I've been a vampire. So go ahead and take a look through all of these. So slice and enemy open, dealing. I'm guessing X is basically just placeholder values for now. They probably haven't balanced things out just yet. Magic damage deals up to more damage based on your missing health. Morphs cost health to use, increases damage bonus, will always be critical strike if you cast it while under half health. Mesmerize, seduce all enemies in front of you, stunning them for X seconds after facing a direction. Stun enemies around you, enemies snared after stun ends. Mesmerize might be good for tanks without a hard CC. So it'll probably be something very similar to like Time Stop on the Sigigorda line. Mist Form, that reduces your damage taken by X% for as long as you maintain the channel. Well, I mean, Mist Form right now is still channel. Grants you immunity to all disabling and mobilization effects, but you cannot be healed, and your magic recovery is disabled. Basically, just Mist as is. Elusive Mist stays the same. Blood Mist, I'm not sure if that's already a morph of Mist Form, but deals damage to enemies around you and heals for damage caused. Probably good for like getting out of Zergs and depending on the actual damage reduction. Blood Frenzy goes into Blood Frenzy, increasing weapon spell damage by X. Toggled on, you cannot be healed by anyone other than yourself. That's pretty interesting. Cold Blood, bonus and cost increase the longer it remains toggled on. That's pretty. Taste for Blood, upon toggling the ability off, you heal for a portion of the health spent. So maybe it costs health to run. That this one actually sounds pretty interesting, assuming that the weapon and spell damage bonus is large. Of course, the fact that you can't be healed by anybody other than yourself makes it a little bit challenging to use, but I'm not sure. We'll have to see how that plays out. Vampire Drain, that's already in the game right now, so deals magic damage, heals you for a percentage of your missing health. Brain Drain, that's a new morph, restores a portion of your missing magicka, and Invigorating Drain seems to be the same, generates ultimate. Blood Scion, that looks like it's probably going to be the ultimate. Transform into Lord of Night, so Vampire Lord basically. Instantly healing to full health and increasing your max health stamina magicka by X for X seconds. So this is basically like the Bone Colossus that Necromancers have, essentially, just for everybody. You're now a Vampire Lord. While it's in form, you can heal for X% of all damage dealt, and you can see enemies through walls. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much like the Bone Colossus that Necromancers have. Bat Scion, bats swarm around you and deal enemies that come close. And then Night Scion, temporarily sent to Vampire Stage 5. All Stage 4 benefits, but no drawbacks from Stage 4. But out of all of these, I think probably Mesmerize would definitely make its way onto e-toolkits for tanks without a hard CC. Templars, I'm thinking of you guys. Uh, Blood Frenzy might be interesting to see, but we'll have to kind of see how it all plays out. The whole not being able to be healed kind of puts a damper on it. And so unless the weapon and spell damage bonus is really big, or you have some way of healing yourself, like maybe
Data
like
you
a
can read over, but
Magden,
basically
maybe?
the
I'm not
vampire
sure.
skill line is definitely getting
We'll have
revamped.
to see
We still
when it gets on the
retain the
PTS.
signature mist form and drain skills that we all know and hate and love, but even these two skills have been tweaked visually and functionally, like mist form being a toggle that drains magicka per second. Furthermore, we see that passives have been reworked, particularly the vampire.
Okay. So we did hear that Mistform is now a toggleable. So it's been a while since we've had toggleable abilities. The last one I remember was the old Siphoning Strikes. Way back. I think this is like way back before even 1T, 1 Tamriel. But yeah, that'll be interesting. That you can just pop Mistform and just drains your Magicka, and you're good to go. Instead of, I think it's a 3-second channel right now. So passives here, it does seem like. Let's see if any of them have changed too much. Dark Stalker, it looks like they removed. No, Dark Stalker hasn't changed. But Ritual hasn't been changed. Passive hasn't been changed. Strike from the shadows when you leave sneak, invisibility, or misform. X for X seconds. So that might be interesting for you magic gankers, perhaps in PvP. Undeath doesn't seem to have been changed. Unnatural movement reduces the cost of sprint by X%. You continuously sprint for X seconds, you automatically become invisible. That might have implications for PvP. That does require you to be stage 4 though, so you're going to get absolutely destroyed by flame damage. But it might be worth it if you just sprint and you become invisible. Although there probably are enough counterplays to invisibility right now that it's probably not that big of an advantage. Bosmer, detect potions, inner light, whatever the flare is from the defensive,
Vampire
uh,
status. We also
whatever
get
it's
a
called,
stun, an ultimate that turns us into
revealing
badass
flare.
Vampire Lord, a really strong weapon and spell damage buff at the cost of health per second, and of course all of these come with their own morphs.
Showcasing skill animations probably.
Last but not least, Kind's Aegis is the new upcoming 12-man trial or
Go
raid that
Sea
will include the
Giants.
ranks of the Crackling Trials, Maw of Lorkhaj, Cloud Rest, Asylum Sanctorium, and Sunspire. In the video, other content creators and I explored Kind's Aegis, but we couldn't get a full group, so we had to make do with what we had and brave the dangers of the Frost Giant threat. There's going to be 3 bosses in a much more linear progression. Each boss will have its own hard moon, and just like Sunspire did with its Godslayer achievement where you got a special mount, it will offer a similar reward. In this video, I show all 3 bosses on normal with some of the mechanics, and this is a work in progress as I keep reminding you guys, so things may change. But for a
Like
lot of the
trash
MG
probably?
mains who did not like Sunspire because of how it didn't at all
This is
offer any complexity to
still
trash
trash.
pools beyond stack
Like
and
it's still
burn,
trash.
Kind's Aegis
I don't see
certainly
a
does
boss
not
bar.
disappoint in this department and has, I think, learned from Sunspire. And as you'll note from carefully watching the video, I'm sure many raid teams will enjoy tackling the
This is a
Frost
boss.
Giants, Half Giants, Vampires, and Vampires, and
Boss
other
bar.
nasty things that can enrage.
Like there's an ad.
It will certainly be interesting to see what the
Filler?
hard mode mechanics will be
Dragon
like
Totem.
in the final form. And for
Okay,
sure,
that's interesting.
teams will definitely have to think about how they're going to do the trash pulls. The bosses look great
Like
for the
a
most part.
conduit.
Mechanics seem pretty interesting even on normal mode.
This is this is a
This
different
class of
boss,
a
different name.
trial,
I think
just like Greymoor, just like the rest of Greymoor. Just really fantastic.
there's ads with this one too. This boss arena seems pretty small for like a 12-man raid. The area seems about
Like I keep
definitely
mentioning,
smaller
this is
than
still a
what
work
I
in
imagined.
progress, as you can see from the recording.
Conduit there.
However, definitely, I just want to emphasize this again, but trash is gonna be very interesting to handle. The final boss also certainly looks frightening and a little overwhelming, so you may need to bring some garlic and staves, or you know what, just burn
This is
them.
the
Just
yeah, this is the
burn that
last boss
fire.
of
Imagine DK DPS is meta now, just in time. And yes, the trial does drop specific sets. And yes, these trial sets do come in perfected and non-perfected, and thanks to Wooler, I'm going to show you guys here in a bit.
that's an
In
interesting
addition to
mechanic.
30 plus hours of questing, we're also getting with Greymoor more unique furnishings, motifs, body
Looks like
markings, momentum,
those look
evasion.
like some pretty interesting mechanics there. Conduits seem to have made another appearance there, but it seems to have been changed a little bit. It seems to affect a lot of people rather than just a single person. So if they still drain Magicka, that's going to be a big pain in the butt for Magicka heavy groups. I'm thinking just a Mayflower, we have a lot of Magic DP. That's going to suck for us. Um, but yeah, so 3 bosses, linear progression. Trash seems to be pretty. I mean, he said it's challenging, so Nefas is definitely somebody who I trust with sort of endgame content. So I would, if he says it's challenging, I would believe it is challenging. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Uh, the mechanics themselves, I am excited to kind of see what sort of new mechanics they have. Hopefully, nothing quite as boring as Sunspire. It was nice to be able to, have that sort of rush of, oh, here's how we do the mechanics in Sunspire. But once you figure it out, it's actually dragons are fairly stack and burn. Navitas and Yolnacreen specifically, those are pretty stack and burn. The danger in Navitas is trash, the ads that spawn in the downstairs groups. Actual dragon itself, not that difficult. Your only green is pretty much stack and burn. Lacestes is, again, more trash, not necessarily the dragon fight itself. So hopefully they have learned from Sunspire and have made the mechanics more involved, the fights a little bit more dynamic than just let's sit here and just heal through whatever it's called, the geyser thing, and just burn through the boss. But yeah, 3 bosses doesn't seem like quite a lot. So I imagine there's probably going to be quite a bit of trash pulls. Probably will be like Maw, where you have a lot of trash between the bosses. Yeah, Maw had 3 bosses as well. It had Zaj, Twins, and then Rakat. And then you had big trash pulls in between. So I'm guessing it's probably going to be more like Maw, where you have big trash pulls in the main bosses.
Emotes and new jewelry enchantments. So basically, these new jewelry enchantments are going to be tri-stat enchantments for your jewelry, or tri-stat recovery enchantments for your jewelry, which is certainly going to make certain builds interesting.
Oh, Falmer.
We also have
That's a
word of a
Falmer.
new siege weapon available for use in open world Cyrodiil PvP called a Magicka Lance. And
Magical Lance.
beyond the fact that it's going to shoot Magicka Lances at targets, we don't know too much about it yet, but it definitely sounds fun. We're also getting new item sets from various sources in Greymoor.
So these are the craftable item sets from the zone. So Dragon's Appetite, damage, stamina regen, increase your damage done to bleeding enemies by X. The non-bleed damage to bleeding enemies generates a persistent stack of Dragon's Appetite up to 1 second. After X stacks, you consume Dragon's Appetite and heal for X health. Doesn't seem to be particularly good. Student's Favor, weapon spell damage, physical and spell pen, weapon and spell damage. Increase physical and spell pen by X against off-balance enemies. Probably going to be more for PvP, maybe? Off-balance has a set uptime in PvE, so it's not going to be particularly useful in PvE. Spell Parasite, spell damage, spell crit, X Magicka. Whenever you deal damage, you restore X Magicka. This effect can occur once every X seconds. Basically, it's just like Seducer, except instead of flat cost reduction, it's Magicka Restoration. I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty decent, like for beginner sets, perhaps. I mean, Julianos, New Moon Acolyte, and Mechanical Cutie probably will pull higher DPS, but Spell Parasite at the very least will give you sustain, so you might be able to pair it with like New Moon Acolyte, for example, to kind of offset the cost increase in Acolyte. So Spell Parasite at the very least seems like it could make its way onto sort of like beginner DPS, at least magic DPS, not stamina, obviously.
Such as 3 new craftable sets as seen on the screen, trial sets, and of course the much talked about and speculated mythic items.
I don't think he's
Now again,
brought
keep
up
in
the.
mind this
Oh,
is all
there we are.
still
I was just going to say, I don't think he brought up the trial sets. Here's the trial set. So Kind's Wind is the light set, one of the light sets. So Magicka Regen, Minor Aegis, Healing Done. So this is probably going to be the healing set. 5-piece, casting an ability or drinking a potion that applies a major buff on yourself or an ally. Creates a pool of Kind's Blessing for X seconds. You ally standing in Kind's Blessing restore X stamina Magicka every X seconds. This effect can occur once every X seconds. Perfect version adds Magicka Regen to the 5-piece. So that's actually not that bad. So casting ability applies a major buff on yourself or an ally. Just thinking real quick. Warden healers, you got Ice Fortress or Expansive Frost Cloak. That gives major resolve. That's going to help proc that. So I can see that being useful there. Maybe as a tank, because I'm just thinking DK tanks. If you use Igneous Shield or Fragmented Shield, you're getting major mending. That's a major buff, so you'd be able to proc it that way, perhaps. Templars. Can't think of anything off the top of my head that gives you major anything for Templars. Uh, yeah, it's only potions I think for Templars, and obviously down the line for any other sort of healer or support roles. So this might be interesting to see. It depends on how much stamina magicka back you get and what the cooldown is. So if it's like 200 stamina magicka back every second, and it's going to occur once every, like, let's say 8 seconds or so, and it lasts for, let's say, 5 seconds, it might be worth running this. This is both magicka and stamina sustain that you're getting, so could be useful. Rolls command. This is the heavy sets. Stamina, minor aegis, health, so tanking, doing damage with a fully charged heavy attack. Apply major aegis for you and up. Okay, I don't need to read anymore. Nobody cares about major aegis. Might be good for progression style groups where you might need the additional mitigation, but ultimately you're not providing any additional DPS with major aegis, so this set's probably gonna be a decon set for most groups. Roaring Opportunist, Trial Light. So this is probably going to be the DPS-oriented light set. Spell Pen, minus Slayer, spell damage, 5-piece dealing damage to fully charged heavy attack to an enemy that's been set off balance. Grants you and up to 11 group members Major Slayer. Roaring Opportunist can only affect a target every X seconds. I'm assuming by target they mean your allies? That's what I'm guessing. Perfect version adds Max Magicka. So this pretty much has made War Machine, Master Architect, and possibly Laquestes completely irrelevant. So fully charged heavy attack on an enemy that's been set off balance. So the wording here seems to imply that they are going to go through with the light and heavy attack changes. I was hoping they wouldn't, but it does seem like they have. Again, this is still a work in progress, so they might just completely scrap this idea, the feedback from the light and heavy attack changes, and completely redo the sets. But I mean, I guess it remains to be seen. But Roaring Opportunist, I don't see this being used as a DPS set, to be honest. This looks like another IA, essentially, Double Aethers, where it's a set that is ostensibly geared towards DPS, be it minor Slayer, Spell Pen, spell damage, but it's better set on a fort roll like a healer, for example. So the proc set is just proc condition is just fully charged heavy attack on an enemy that's been set off balance. You don't have to be on a DPS mode to do that. You can just be on a healer and you'll be able to get that additional bonus. So I don't see this being used as a DPS. You basically need to make heavy attack builds stronger than current light attack builds in order to justify using this on a DPS, or make it so a heavy attack build is not a huge loss. We're talking maybe like a 2 or 3% loss in total damage compared to a light attack build in order to justify using this set on a DPS. So it's a DPS set, but it's actually a support set. Finally, Yandir's Might, which is a set, so weapon damage, minus Slayer, stamina regen. We don't need more regens, us. Dealing critical damage grants you a stack of Giant's Endurance up to 1 per second. Each stack of Giant's Endurance adds X stamina regen, stacks up X time. Dealing damage with a fully charged heavy attack removes Giant's Endurance and grants Giant's Might for X seconds, increasing weapon damage by X per stack removed. You cannot have Giant's Endurance and Might active at the same time. Okay, I guess it would depend on how many stacks you can get. It doesn't say there's a limit, so you could just like put on a bunch of dots, have them all crit, and then just do a heavy attack, and then it's gonna buttload of weapon damage for however long it lasts. Probably gonna be like 5 or 6 seconds. Um, Not sure if it'll be worth it. The stamina regen line on the 4-piece doesn't really do me any favors. The perfect version adds physical pen, which might be useful. Gets adjust our CPs around a little bit. Um, I guess you might be able to pair this with like Newman Acolyte, maybe. I don't know. I guess I'll have to. I want to test this out first to see whether it's worth it. Like if you're only limited to like 3 stacks and you only get like 100 weapon damage per stack, obviously it's not going to be worth it. But if you can get up to like let's say 10 stacks, that's a 2,000 weapon damage and critical damage once per second. So you have a couple of dots running. Takes you let's say 10 seconds to get 2,000 weapon damage, and that's going to be buffed by all of your weapon damage modifiers. That might be potentially good. So we'll have to wait and see. Testing on the PTS when it comes out in mid to late April. Anyway, back on with the video. This is becoming a very long reaction video, but to be expected. It's 18-minute long video, so yeah, what did you expect? Unload. Buffer. Buffer, you useless laptop. This one's taking a little bit longer. Oh, there we
Progress
go.
of the item sets you're looking at on the screen, and obviously we still do need to go through the PTS cycle for Greymoor, and wow, I mean, that Roaring Opportunist though, that looks juicy.
It does look juicy. Thing is, it also.
These mythic items are
Oh, here are
producing
mythic items.
lean, powerful one-piece.
Alright, so mythic items here are these like one-piece sets that offer some additional bonuses. So here are a couple of examples that he has on screen. I'm sure they're going to be more and they're going to be updated. So Bloodlord's Emblem is a heavy chest. After blocking an attack, you restore X Magicka. This effect can occur every X seconds. Brassian Stranglers, light gloves. Killing an enemy grants you persistent stack of Sloat's Call up to a maximum of X stacks. Each stack increases your spell damage by X. It also increases your damage taken by X. Removing Thrashing Stranglers, crouching, or going invisible removes all stacks of Sloat's Call. Can't be ganking no more. This might actually be decent for potentially magic DPS. Now, the thing with mythic items is because it is a one-piece bonus, you might need to give up a Monster Helm set depending on where they're placed here. So for example, Bloodlord's Embrace, you guys might be thinking, oh, well, I can put this on a tank. You might be able to, but if you decide to do so, you would be giving up your Monster Helm set. So let's say you still want to use, let's say, Yolnakreen and Alkosh. So you have Alkosh as your jewelry and your weapons. You have Bloodlord's Embrace as the heavy chest. You still need the 5-piece for Yolnakreen. So you have legs, belt, hands, feet, shoulders, or helm. Have that remaining 1-piece. You won't be able to run something like Symphony of Blades if you're running Bloodlord's Embrace on a tank. So these mythic items, their bonuses, need to be very, very powerful in order to justify a support role using them. Now, for DPS, it's a little bit more nuanced here. So we'll use Thrashing Stranglers because this looks pretty interesting and it might be beneficial to run on a Magic DPS. Let's say you still want to run Perfected False Gods and let's say Doom Acolyte. You decide to put, or a better example, Sororia and actually no, let's go with a Mag Decay. Say you want to run something like no, let's not go with Mag Decay. Let's just go back to an example. Perfected False Gods and Newman Acolyte. You have Newman Acolyte as your front bar set, jewelry and weapons, and then you have Malsham on the back bar, obviously. Then you have your gloves as Thrashing Stranglers, and then you have your False Gods. So chest, legs, hands, or no, not hands, feet, waist, and let's say shoulders. You still have 1-piece remaining, so you would not necessarily be able to use a helm of Newman Acolyte because then you only have 4 pieces active. But you could do something like Slimecraw, for example, for the additional spell crit. You can do something like Malakina for the spell damage. So for DPS, it's still possible to run these sets. So it'll be interesting to see how strong these sets are and whether they will outbeat things like Monster Helm sets or 2 1-piece crit sets on the for Magic DPS. But everything else here seems to be pretty interesting. Not necessarily great for PvE necessarily. For example, Ring of the Wild Hunt just increases movement speed, which is not really going to be super beneficial in PvE in most scenarios, but could be beneficial outside of that, for example. So overall, pretty interesting sets. I still want to see how they're going to play out, though, whether or not they're going to be strong enough to justify losing a Monster Helm set, particularly for DPS. But again, these are all work in progress, so I'm sure there's going to be more that are coming out. There might be some helms or chests, for example, or helms or shoulders, for example, or maybe even weapons. That might help out kind of build diversity with these mythic items. But right now, out of the ones that I see on screen, the only one that I would probably be seriously consider be using on like a PvE meta build would be
Set
Thrashing
items.
Stranglers.
So we got things like Bloodlord's Embrace, Thracian Stranglers, Snow Treaders, Ring of the Wild Hunt, Malakaz Band of Brutality, and Torque of Tonal Constancy. As you can see from
Maybe
the
Snow
display
Treaders for like
in the
PvP.
descriptions, it's going to provide, each one's going to provide pretty powerful bonuses for combat.
Hard casting
However,
frags,
we also
Nefas.
mentioned that each one
Unforgivable.
will
With a
also
bow!
provide a kiss
With
proof
a
effect, such
bow!
as shoes that will
Stam
prevent
Sorks
you
don't
from
use
being
crystal
snared or
frags.
immobilized, but you won't be able to sprint. Something like that. So it's pretty interesting how mythic items are going to play into how we as players are going to make our characters or builds. Anyway, before we wrap up this video, I also took some pictures of Greymoor, like Gawking Tourist, and this video, along with my screenshots, along with the screenshots provided by ZeniMax Online Studios, will be available for viewing on both my Discord and my website at nefasqs.com/greymoorpeak, but will also be shown in the ending of this video. Again, huge thank you to ZeniMax Online Studios for giving me the privilege of looking at Greymoor before its release, and huge thank you to you guys watching this video that have made this community so wonderful for the past 6 years. If you guys could give this video a like, so it's been, it's seen by more people, or share it with your friends who would love to take a look at Greymoor, that'd be greatly appreciated as well. Or if you want to support me as a content creator, please
The
subscribe to my channel
obligatory
and
YouTube
also
sign
hit that
off.
like button so it's
Like,
easier to
subscribe,
grow
and
the channel.
share. Here's my Patreon. Here's my coffee. Here's my Twitch
Thanks for
channel.
watching and chilling with me, guys. Love
Gotta
you
keep
guys.
doing that.
I will see you guys in the next video.
Gotta do that as a
Or
content
maybe in the
creator
Discord
on
or
YouTube.
twitch.tv/nefasqs, where we recently became a
Uh,
Twitch partner. Stay safe and have
like the
fun.
rest of this seems to be screenshots here. All screenshots, so we can pretty much cut the video. But yeah, that's pretty much I'm not sure how I feel about Greymoor right now, actually. Notice that they also named the province Western Skyrim instead of Solitude. Um, Probably because it also probably encompasses, looking at the size of that, it might encompass part of Falkreath Hold, maybe parts of, no, probably not parts of Markarth. Markarth is going to be more over here, I think, but possibly Markarth. Um, Definitely Morthal, that's Western Skyrim, so that's probably why they're named provinces. Yeah, that's pretty much going to be could be it for this video. So there's going to be links in the description below to the links that Nevis provided just a few moments ago. That is to his website where you can find all the screenshots that we talked about with the sets and all the mini games and things like that. Discord to the ESO Academy. You guys are interested in learning more about endgame content, becoming better PvE players, you can definitely check that out. And then a link to this video itself. So this is Nevis's video. This is not mine. So I'll have a link down to Nefas's video. If you want to see the last 3-ish minutes of what I'm assuming are going to be screenshots or gameplay footage there. But yeah, that is going to be it for this video. Let me know down in the description below whether you guys are excited for Greymoor after hearing all these details. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next dungeon. Before I sign off, though, actually, I will be doing a little bit more detailed looks, shorter form videos about each individual. One on the sets, for example, one on mythic items, and so on and so forth, just based on the information that we currently have right now on Greymoor. Expect those coming out later on this week. That was a real sign off. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the dungeon.